Hello everyone and welcome to the Gastrointestinal Block. In this short presentation I'll just give you a broad introduction to the block and go through the tutorial components in terms of the critical and creative thinking tasks, and to remind you that we'll be doing a debrief for the respiratory block so you have a chance to think about that. This is a 3-week block looking at the gastrointestinal system in space and space food and nutrition. There's only one spacewalk, so you'll be able to walk through the materials at your own pace. As I'm sure you're aware, the Meet an Expert session has already taken place, and I hope you enjoyed that, and the recording is available in the usual way. And just to remind you that the link to this video is on the homepage if you need it in future. In terms of other components, we'll be continuing the LEGO Build to Launch journey. So we'll be discussing the thought-based activities from Module 2, and you should watch the Module 3 videos prior to the next block, which will start after the mid-year break. There's plenty of information on the Build to Launch module pages, so I encourage you to have a look at that if you would like to know more. As usual, there's some preparation for the mission briefing debrief, and there'll be a recap of the respiratory block spacewalk, and the names of the people are on the Canvas site. It'll be divided into 2 parts: respiratory health in space and spacesuit spacewalks and decompression sickness. Please have a look at what you need to do and come ready to participate in discussion. And hopefully you've all been making good progress on your group video assignment, which is due no later than Sunday the 4th of June. And just a reminder about the reflections for your e-portfolio: the first to support your written report, and the second one to support your spin-off e-portfolio presentation at the end of the year. The layout of the homepage is pretty standard, and the to-do list has the key tasks that you should complete and also the key dates for the block. With the inspiration section, there's a wonderful video which you can watch called Chopin in Space, which is about the music of Chopin being played to accompany beautiful space-related images, and then just to reinforce the extension resources which are there for you. The layout of the spacewalk is once again standard, with the learning objectives, as I mentioned, looking at the gastrointestinal system, also what happens to the gut microbiome, thinking about dental health for spaceflight, not something that people might automatically think about. Good food and nutrition, incredibly important, and also space gardening. And the learning resources under the Explore tab are organised into accordions, and these look at pretty much those topics: the gastrointestinal system in spaceflight, the gut microbiome, dental care in space, food and nutrition, and growing plants in space. With the discussion points, we have 3 specific for the block and the normal 3 general ones. And for review, there is a crossword for you to have some fun with, and also the model answers for the optional decompression sickness activity from the respiratory block are available. And the extra resources, as usual, we have the University of Melbourne book list, some general resources for extra learning related to this topic, and some additional videos. There's also the Build to Launch tab, which has links to the videos which you should watch prior to the start of this block, the thought-based activities that we'll be discussing, and then the design-based activities which will be in the tutorials in the second half of the year. And just to remind you about your spin-off reflection and all the wonderful resources which are available in the spin-off section of the website. With the small group discussion, the first part will be talking about a growing plants on the moon activity, and encourage you to have a look at that in advance and come along with some answers or suggestions that you can share with your group. And then the remainder of the small group discussion will look at thought-based activities from the Lego Build to Launch. And the first section will look at why it's important to test or try out ideas and iterate them and reiterate them until you can come up with the best prototype or concept. And then the other two parts think about how you keep a spacecraft on course. So how do you hit a target, and why is this really important when you're going to space, and why is testing important in this context? And also the challenges of moving large and heavy objects like the Space Launch System. So they should be fun to have a chat about, and once again I do encourage you to think about these in advance so you can bring some ideas along to the tutorial. And lastly, we will spare a little bit of time for the debrief for the respiratory mission. If you have any comments about what you liked or didn't like so much, or what could be improved, and also if you have any general questions. Thank you and see you soon.